This documentary on the association's incredible history takes a unique approach. While it highlights the key events that have shaped SCADA over the decades, its true focus lies in the stories of our past presidents. Our association's past presidents have faced extraordinary challenges over the years, from battling inflation rates soaring above 20%, navigating the uncertainty of fuel shortages, to steering through the unprecedented global pandemic. Yet, through it all, their priorities never wavered. Faith in God and a steadfast commitment to family remained at the heart of their leadership. These values, rooted in their lives and actions, continue to inspire SCADA leadership to this day and shape the future of our industry. Through these interviews with our past presidents, we tell the SCADA story, a history of triumphs built on solid legacy of leadership.
It's good to get together with other like-minded individuals in the same state, in the same community, that we can truly focus on how can we do our business better for our customer.
I don't see how you could succeed as a dealer body without having something like SCADA that represent you.
It's an association like this that's made the state, made the dealer, made the franchise. It really has.
No matter how much time or money or effort a person puts as a dealer into SCADA, they're going to get more back than they ever put in.
What SCADA does for the dealers and how they protect the dealers and the families in this business, I think that means everything.
Welcome, Mr. Wes Pickens. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sims. During my time as a dealer for 30 years, the thing I enjoyed most was getting to know the dealers and see what quality people we had. I became close friends with several dealers who to this day are close friends of mine, even though I've been out of the business for a number of years.
I think I knew it seemed like probably 75-80% of the dealers from all over the state. And the neat thing was if somebody had a kid at Clemson and they had car trouble, I knew who to call up there and, can you go get the car and just send me the bill and I'll take care of it. We had such a network of guys who, I reckon, trusted each other.
It brings us together like a brotherhood or a fraternity. I mean, I've met so many good friends, made lifelong friends, and it's more about that than the work we get done, and the work we do is important. From franchise laws to state laws, getting things done, but it's the friendships that really make a difference.
I thought you were going to say, couldn't be a more handsome EVP,
That's a given. Everybody knows that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
It's not just relationships with your fellow dealers, but it provides a service that gives us the opportunity to go out and do things that are meaningful in interacting with our legislators. It affords us the opportunity to look at what we're doing in our communities, and it forces us to take a look at ourselves to see, what challenges, what opportunities, and other things that we have that we can enhance.
I don't think a lot of people realize what a car dealer does for our communities. If you look at your community and you look at the fences of soccer fields, events, charities, you see franchise car dealers on that list. Those dollars that are spent within a dealer and in their community, they get back into the community. I think SCADA, we're here to protect that.
Prior to my presidency in 2005, we had purchased some property, this property here on Hampton Street. We were in a house on Laurel Street that was an older house and knew one day we wanted to build and we had to get rezoned and stuff. So we worked on getting this place rezoned so that we could build this facility.
It's a good testament to a lot of good leadership over all these decades, because I lived with you guys in the Laurel Street building for a while and was showing its age, obviously, and this building to me reminds me of all that fantastic leadership all those decades. It's kind of culminated in this beautiful building.
What the association always did is it was always looking forward. It was always looking at what the dealers needed. The 1960s, Bill Hancock and Robert Pulliam got on the idea of deciding that we needed to have our own insurance company for workman's comp. And I believe it was around 1968 that they got it done. That's when we had right at 300 dealers, and all but 2 of them were members of the association because it gave us the greatest thing that we could have.
There's probably not a better workman's comp program in the United States. I mean, what our return this year was 63%. To return that kind of money to our dealers, that's phenomenal. And all the other things we do, the titling work, the DMV, I mean, we've gotten them straightened out. We're working with Consumer Affairs.
Dealerships participating in those programs, I mean, it served to be a wonderful service for them and for their employees. And, you know, if we had a problem, we knew we weren't going to have to go through the bureaucracy. We could just call up here and explain what was going on, and something got done about it.
Once I got involved and saw the operations, it was just amazing. The focus on the mission, the service to the dealer body, the training opportunities, the excellent insurance programs, having the past presidents involved.
So involved.
Yeah, for years down the road, every detail was addressed and paid attention to.
You and I did a lot during my year as president, but it was always amazing the support that was behind you when you needed the help.
One person can't do it. I can't do what the association can do, but all of us together can do what, you know, and you leading the association, we get our voices heard. If we don't have some help within the state or within the federal government, we'll be in trouble.
Of course, we're always involved in the lobbying part, but because of the association, we've been able to pass laws that are fair, that make things an even playing field for the dealers.
Whether it be franchise laws, closing fees, just the legislative inputs that SCAD has had to make sure that we can continue this as a family. We just celebrated 100 years since my grandfather first sold Chevrolets. My son is doing it. I could see that his son will eventually take over. Having an organization that looks out for our best interest is paramount to me.
There's so many families involved in this, and we get to know those families, and we watch the children grow up and go into the dealerships, and that's why it's so important that we get them involved. And you know, that brings up another point, our conventions. One of the things that I think I probably helped with as much as anything in getting us more family oriented and children oriented, and it's paying off. I mean, you know, y'all do a great job with getting the kids involved, and look at our attendance, it's there, and that makes the association stronger.
When your father was a part of the association and a past president, you grow up going to conventions, you meet their children, you grow up with them basically. There's so many members of past friendships, and knowing that you're accepted for who you are. It's not exactly what you have, it's who you are and what's inside.
And all the past presidents are there because it gets in your system, it's in your heart, and you feel like you belong with the association.
84 was my first convention. I remember Townley Redfern was the president. I was amazed at what I thought was a combative industry where we were competing against each other like we were. And then when you walk in and you give Gene Reed a buddy hug, or there was Manley or Bucky Morris, and you realize that, you know, at the end of the day that we weren't enemies. Competitive as I found it as a young man in the business, I found it very interesting, the love in SCADA and the friendships in SCADA.
I think that's the wonderful thing about the association. We're in a very competitive business, and we compete with each other tooth and nail day to day. But when it comes down to it, you call a fellow dealer, they'll answer the phone, they'll talk to you, they'll offer you advice, and they'll offer you advice from their experience.
You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have your good days and bad days, months, etc. What's helped me more than anything is having, for example, the SCADA family. I've been able to network and build relationships with other dealers during my tenure at SCADA, and that helps me stay on the forefront of issues that we're going to face no matter what.
Probably the biggest issue we had to maintain was the sales tax cap. And that was pretty much a constant issue in the legislature.
North Carolina was selling more trucks than we were because they wouldn't buy them in South Carolina, and we pushed and pushed, and Pat just had such great respect over at the State House and had done so many good things, and he ended up, they got this cap passed that was $300, and we still have the cap, although it's gone to $500.
We did a lot of things during those times. We had to. Dealers were depressed with the high interest rates, and we were worried about this tax deal because that was a big thing. And thanks to you and SCADA, we still have a cap on it, which is very, very fair. You go buy one somewhere else, you'll see the big difference in a $50,000 or $60,000 car.
It helps companies like BMW come here, it helps Volvo come here, and they don't mess with it. It doesn't appear anybody's messing with it. They'll always try and think of things to do, but it's an advantage to everybody.
We had the gas crisis in the early 80s. And some nights you couldn't get gas. Gas stations would close down. And some nights I wasn't sure how I was going to get home, if I might have to work.
I was president in 96, 97. And in 95 is about the time that the internet became commercially viable.
Auto Battelle, I think they started in 1995, and they were the first internet company to be on the Super Bowl in 1997. And then I became president in 99. So internet sales were just getting started.
I mean, it was suddenly, okay, manufacturers going to sell cars through the internet, and you're going to have some dealers that try to get a leg up on everybody else and sell cars too cheap to get more market share. And you know, how are we going to compete in the world of the internet?
I remember my dad did not like selling cars over the internet. I'll never forget one day he said he'd be glad when all this internet stuff went away.
Maybe
we
not.
know that didn't happen.
Maybe not.
The biggest challenge is looking at our state franchise laws and making sure the dealers were protected, that the customer had to buy directly from the dealer, even though, of course, we welcome them going online and getting information and being more informed, but we wanted to be sure that the dealer still took care of them after the sale.
My biggest fear was I was 38-year-old president. I'm sitting here facing, board members, been here forever, past presidents, and my goal was to have a strategic planning meeting to define what we want to do going forward. And met a lot of pushback. Out of that strategic planning meeting, we set up a franchise law study group. And nobody was really all fired up about it until about 1999. GM Retail, Focus, and Ford, they were trying to cut the dealers out.
They were going around and buying up dealers, paying top dollar, Ford especially, and they thought they could sell cars better than dealers could. Our franchise laws protected us, and they couldn't do it in South Carolina, but there were 2 or 3 states that they did, and that didn't last long. It was a short fad, a couple of years, and that was done.
That was scary, but dealers always adapt. I mean, we find the solutions to the problems at hand, and I guess that's part of what makes America what it is and makes car dealers what we are.
And it's proven that they cannot do it.
They keep trying.
They keep trying.
And Ford's been noted for trying multiple times, as of late, on EVs, etc.
And they keep going back to the basic franchise system.
When I was president in 08 and 09, that's when we experienced the Great Recession, which everyone remembers.
That was that fancy convention that we went on. To the, what was the name of the motel here in Columbia?
I don't remember the name of the...
I remember the hors d'oeuvres were not good. I remember that.
During my speech, I said I went from the penthouse to the outhouse because we were supposed to be at the Cove in Atlantis.
That's right.
And I ended up with not even a room in the hotel. We just had a daytime meeting. We were in such turmoil then, since we were just all trying to stay afloat.
Car sales numbers were down to a historic level, at least in modern times, and the domestic manufacturers were in crisis.
GM went bankrupt, Chrysler went bankrupt, Ford stayed out. That's when you're really worried about it. You got to have support from the association so they try to stop just coming in and closing these dealers down, which they did, a lot of them.
You remember going to D.C. and sitting in that room, and those congressmen looked at us and they said, normally you wouldn't be here asking government to help provide a loan to the manufacturers. And we said, well, correct, but if you don't,
they're not going to be here.
We don't have anything.
That's right.
It was an interesting time in the car business because there was a lot of restructuring, a lot of concern of where we were going. I think Ford was going through a major restructuring as well, and they had to basically take out a home mortgage loan on the Blue Oval to stay afloat. We were lucky in South Carolina to have good leadership to go have those meetings and what we needed to do to try to protect ourselves.
Thankfully, they made it through bankruptcy, and so did most of the leaders that were in place at that time.
I don't know if you remember, we had an issue, I think, called closing fee.
Yes, mildly remember. I got a scar or two from that.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, and you know, that was an interesting time. It had been going on for what, about 15 years, I think.
It was 2015. I was treasurer. This was so unusual for the association to go through it.
I remember we had a board meeting in Charleston when we voted to allow some funds to go in for legal counsel to go in and investigate and see what our issues were. And you know, there were two dealerships, one had won and one had lost considerable amount of money. And it was interesting, I guess, because we had dealers that really had a lot of exposure. And then we had those that basically didn't even participate or have closing fees. You know, trying to keep those people together, I mean, it was a challenge.
Everybody's not made the same way, and everybody's not going to see the circumstances the same. But we were able to pull the naysayers and everybody else together.
A year and a half, 2 years later, we were able to put it to bed for us.
We had the right people at the right time. We had you, we had George, we had Claude, Tommy Norris.
I was happy to get the outcome that we got there because I was looking at probably 2/3 of the dealers in the state going bankrupt had we failed.
Spent a lot of time up at the State House.
Yeah.
In fact, I was up there, I think, 3 days a week. And having you there and how well you're respected up there, I mean, it means a lot to the association.
Easily, I would say, I've not encountered anything like it in my career. 32 years of doing the same work for 3 different associations. I've never seen a more difficult, monumental task, and then it end the way it did.
I came in 2019, and it started off as a normal year, and then COVID, the new word that none of us knew and didn't know what it really meant, and it didn't take long for everybody to see how serious it was.
Everybody was trying to figure out a way out. How do we get out of this mess? Inflation was running rampant. You had prices of everything sky high. People afraid of the help.
We had to change everything that we did at our dealerships and, of course, here at SCADA. And thankfully, the staff is so sharp, and they were able to make meetings happen. I mean, we had to make them happen because I remember being in this room and having 3 chairs between every person.
Yeah.
And
masks.
stuff like that, and masks on, and you had the little stuff to put on your hands. And so we went through a lot, but I think we went through it with very few hiccups, but it took a lot of work for the staff to pull it off.
It was a time in history that we had to get through, and nobody can say it was an easy job, but we did it.
I don't think it was an easy job. But we don't have to wear neckties anymore. Thank you, COVID.
Don't have to wear ties anymore.
I think one of the bigger frontline challenges that I faced as president was the consumer affairs. We had a governmental agency attacking dealers for no reason whatsoever. I think they had their own agenda. It wasn't a right agenda. It wasn't correct. It was malicious in intent, and it was costing dealers money that it shouldn't have cost. You're fighting a state-ran agency who has unlimited funds to defend themselves. I wouldn't say some of these guys would have lost the battle, but the money they would have spent to collectively fight this agency on things that they had no wrong in doing would have been exorbitant. The association steps in, we come in together as one, representing all the dealers in the state, and our collective resource, our collective power as one, and we came in with that right approach that quickly addressed the situation. It took some time, it took some resources, but the money we spent was fractional compared to what these dealers were having to pay just to keep their doors open. Thanks to some of your efforts led by the legislation, we were able to pass legislation to make sure it didn't happen again, and more importantly, they were stopped in their tracks from doing harm to businesses in South Carolina that was unjust.
I have seen through SCADA that we don't just look at what's happening today. We look down the road and we anticipate things and build things into state law and different things that protect dealers.
It ties us together with everybody else in the whole state. We wouldn't have any connection. We wouldn't have the power in the legislature to accomplish the things that you and your staff have done.
We've all been so fortunate through the years to have a great association staff, and so forth. All we had to kind of do was guide the ship and the leadership below the president on down to the vice presidents, and that's what's made this association what it is.
We became a dealer in 1972, and one of the first things I did was join this association, and that shows you what this organization means to so many dealers.
I have a financial report from April 1st, 1960. The total money, cash in bank, for SCADA was $1,926. And you fast forward to today, and it's just incredible, the difference. I think SCADA recovered from those dire financial times. I think I know it was because of tremendous leadership by both the dealers. We had some really impressive car dealers in those days that led us, and also the executive vice presidents, Roger White, and then Pat Watson took over.
Yeah.
And then we had a new guy come in. That was you, wasn't it?
There are 4 of y'all that have been executive directors of this association, and that's over 80-something years.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It is the most impressive.
You know, the time comes that you have to make changes, and I think we were at that point, and I think it was a good move for everybody. I mean, you've been here almost 19 years.
19 years, December 5. The hair was a lot darker. It's still thick, which I'm happy about, but it was a lot darker back then. It's a lot darker.
Well, I think everybody's was.
Woo! I look back at where I was in my career at the time and then coming over here. I had no idea how good and how down to earth these folks were and how much they would mean to me later in my life and personally as well as professionally.
I think when you go back and you look at it, there was so many things that really have set the course for where we're at today. But a lot of that has to do with you and your willingness to change and to do things differently.
We're busy selling cars and working people and all these things, but yet you're here representing us at this State House. And it's very important what you do, Sims. It doesn't go unnoticed. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't be it.
I know that too.
Okay, you know that, don't you?
I know that too, yes, sir.
I thank the world of you, and I think you do a tremendous job for us.
I do appreciate the job that you do for the association. Always have, and I've always admired the fact that you can rally these troops for any occasion.
I firmly believe that our association is the best in the country. We have the best leadership. We get more done thanks to our leadership and our dealer body involvement.
Whether it be the executive vice presidents, whether it be the past presidents, or just involving the entire association in the leadership of this. One thing I've really appreciated is that we've always kept God in our association. For quite some time, I like to keep a verse in mind. Colossians 3:17, whatsoever you do in word or deed, do unto the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and by his Father. I've said this often, that I've never been surrounded by so many good Christians as I have been with SCADA. We start with prayers, and I'm sure that we're bathed in prayers.
3 rules to live by. Do your best, do what's right, and live by the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. In the car business, truer words never spoken for all three.
Car dealers as a whole, nationwide, are wonderful people, very giving people.
For us in the family business, especially in the car business, we've been blessed. All dealers have been, and we have an opportunity and a platform to use our business in a way to make an impact to others.
There's close to 300 dealers, franchise dealers in this state. Look what those franchise dealers have done in their own communities and for the state, as well as this association. We pull together and we all make that commitment to our own people.
It's so passionate to me to be part of those things that affect our community. You know, you look outside at these bigger industries, they may support them, but they don't know them.
As we give and we make an impact, our legislators see it, so when we go to them and we're asking for help, we can talk about the reasons we want them to help us, but they already know these guys do business with honesty, integrity, transparency. These guys are leaders in our community.
People wanted to do business with us because they knew they would be treated fairly and that we would follow up after the sale and we would support them with service, even to the degree that they'd say, I'd really rather buy one of those other brands, but I want to do business with you.
It's a people business. People from the consumer side and people from the employment side. Working with people on a daily basis and working with the consumer is probably the most rewarding part. It's people, you know.
We always had the philosophy that you had to be totally honest with dealing with people. And I think most people realize that. Even now, I went into the old shop, the people that have it now, went in to get some work done. And you wouldn't believe the people that just came up that I knew and talking and just enjoyed being with them.
I enjoyed the relationship with my customers and my employees. I really did. We served many generations of families, and it was just enjoyable knowing them and their lives and being able to help them in decisions. Got into a lot more than automobiles, you know, in discussions.
There's nothing more I like seeing a car go over the curb or a car being repaired and a customer taking back delivery of their vehicle and them being happy with the service that they received. I feel confident that the car business is here to stay, and I look forward to being in it for a while longer.
I am cautiously optimistic because I'm not sure where we're going to go from an EV, hybrid, ICE vehicle standpoint. I don't know where everything's going to land.
I think EVs will slowly become a part of our lives, but I think it's going to be much slower than what was being pushed over the last couple of years.
A lot of people like it, and of course they're selling some, not near like they were, but I guess they'll get the grids up and they'll have some juice and they'll learn how to ride from Miami to Charlotte without having to stop and recharge.
I think there's a better place for a hybrid or something of that nature.
Evolutionary step.
Yes.
One thing about car dealers is they're pretty resilient. If something changes in the business, we have to adapt and learn and continue to grow.
It's the people within the franchise that has actually made this state and made this association. This association is probably one of the strongest in the country, definitely the strongest in the state, because of the people and the way they stay together.
Whether you're a family or whether you're a big corporate company, the continuation of a strong association is important.
And if you come on this board with SCADA, you should come on with a focus, I want to be the president, and be willing to pay the price and the time.
You've got to know the dealers, and you've got to know the staff, and you got to keep an eye on the things that are important, not just to you, but to everybody.
You better have unlimited cell phone minutes, because Sims Floyd will call you all hours of the day. If Sims ever starts a conversation with "so," it's going to cost somebody some money.
As a president, one is involvement. You've got to be involved. You've got to be in these events. You've got to be understanding of what's going on around you.
The dealers need to know how much impact they have in their local government and their representatives who come to Columbia. We have a strong voice up there, and we need to keep that voice.
No matter how good Sims Floyd is, he can't do it by himself. He needs his dealers to be able to pick up the phone and call that legislator and make sure that legislator answers the phone when they call. It's just so important, those back home relationships.
We've learned that relationships determine what the outcome's going to be, whether it's relationships with your customers, fellow dealers, legislators, and even down to factory representatives.
The one thing that I would encourage the younger dealers to get involved, to get to know the dealers, to make friends with them. That just helps unify whatever you're trying to accomplish.
It's a richer experience.
Yeah.
And it's probably not bad to find people to commiserate with when it's not so wonderful.
Yeah. There's some bumps in the road.
Yes.
There are going to be different things arise throughout their tenure as president, and I think SCADA is such a big resource for all of the dealers in South Carolina, whether it be programming, even forums, or just to have a resource to make a phone call that can help us through a situation.
Having grown up in the business, I knew a lot of the older dealers. They were always willing to share their experience and their knowledge. Without the association, I would not have had those contacts.
Over the years, I've been in a lot of organizations, dealer council, advertising associations, and those positions and everything. But the best organization at all was SCADA, the best run, and worked for the dealers at all the time. It really has been.
Your family has produced not just your presidency, but 2 more sons that have served as president as well of this organization. That's a pretty big commitment, family-wise, for this association.
Well, that means that, to me, my industry was protected and guided, and without the association, I wonder what the outcome would have been. It was still going to be cars sold and so forth, but without the guidance that SCADA gave us, I don't know what would have happened. It's been very strong for us, and of course still is. We're on the right track, there's no doubt about that. The only advice I can say to someone is that continue doing what we're doing, and just engage with their own board and the other dealers around them. Just don't leave anybody out.
It's been quite an honor to be president of the association. It's something I'll cherish all my life. Even though you're president, you're not there alone. The staff here is behind you 100%. The dealers are behind you 100%. And everyone's willing to help you, and it makes it a lot easier.
I have this lapel right here.
Yes, I noticed that.
I wear it every day that I have a coat on. I will never forget those experiences, that part of my life. And it was an honor and a privilege to serve. I don't know that I deserved it, but I certainly appreciate the honor.
I enjoyed my years as president, enjoyed it tremendously. I would have enjoyed it regardless of what fight we had to fight or what hand to shake and get to know. It's valuable for our business as we move forward. And the president is there to make sure that happens alongside of you who are there to fight for us every day.
The staff here is amazing. Trust them. Let them help you. Let Sims help you. And if you will follow their guide, you'll be fine as president.